What's up, y'all? It's your girl Tree Bad. How's everybody feeling and doing? Hope you're all right. This is not a When the Dragon Breathes Part 2. No. This is another navigating through YouTube streets. Some Yoga Sutras in my hand. In the past, I've seen some shit. I've seen some disgusting ass shit. But I usually see it after it happens. I don't see the whole, process. Or I don't see that shit happening. When you from a place where I'm from and you hear the gunshots, you don't stand there to see who gets hit. You run. Or you dodge that bullet, right? I've seen these people on the YouTube streets, more specifically, the ones that are agents of chaos. I've seen them before in some way or fashion in real life. I usually come around after karma gets them. But I've never seen them in their full-on evil machination as it happens like that. And that shit fucked with me. What does this have to do with the Yoga Sutras? Well, before we get into that, I also have to tell you guys, I know I'm an empath, and I know there are different types of empaths, and I shut that shit down for a very long time, and recently it had to open up again. So it's like I'm brand new. I take on people's energies. It's just the nature of my empathy. A hug is a very powerful thing because not only are you giving somebody good energy, you're also taking their bad. So think of me as a hug. And the person hugging me gets to release their energy, their pain, their sadness, their compassion. But I don't have all of the ways to, let it go for myself. And there are certain things I can do to quote unquote get rid of the energy, but a lot of times, especially when I don't try to turn these powers on, they fucking activate, so I don't realize that I've taken certain energies on until after the fact. So, for a time now, I've been practicing. I've been practicing my true nature, my true self. I'm practicing being who I was always meant to be if I wasn't stifled down by this patriarchal society or, the generational situations of my parents or grandparents, or, the effects of slave mentality or whatever else you want to call it. Anyway, let's go to these Yoga Sutras. The restraint of the modifications of the mind stuff is yoga. The modifications are restrained by practice and non-attachment. And we've talked about practice over and over, and like I said, I've been practicing. I also mentioned to y'all that practice is positive and non-attachment is the negative side, but I don't think Patanjali meant it like that. I really don't. Because remember, my Guru Dev Sri Swami Satchidananda said that sometimes in order to get to a painless place, you have to go through a little pain. So I won't look at it like that, because sometimes practice is painful, right? Sometimes practice is real painful. I like to think of it more as grammar. And I hope you can follow. You see, the restraint of the modifications are practice and non-attachment. Verbs, nouns. I should say I'm looking at those as nouns. But practice by itself is verb. Non-attachment can also be a verb. So what's the subject, right? What's the subject? See, you cannot detach yourself. Apathy is not the way to go, right? However, if I practice empathy, I take on too much. So Patanjali wanted balance for us. And if I put practice non-attachment together like that, then you got what you got. What we call verb and noun, verb and adjective. Let's switch it around. Non-attachment practice. That's what I have to start learning now. Non-attachment. Non-attachment is freedom. To be free. You see, if we look at it this way, practice is changing. You know, it needs consistency. It needs earnestness. It needs patience. Non-attachment should not require those things. For what? But you're not detaching yourself from the world, right? You're not non-attaching yourself to people, even though that might be necessary sometimes. But your non-attachment is to feelings, right? Your non-attachment is, and that's wrong too, right? I mean, that's the overall goal. It's like, I wish I can explain it better. You have to not be attached to cravings, okay? These feelings can become cravings, almost an addiction of sorts. There are many people out in the world that crave something. Remember I told you about that addiction, which is a craving. So in yoga, you have to be free from cravings in order to successfully have non-attachment. And how hard is that if your heart wants to feel and emote. If your voice needs to speak, if your mind and your heart have something to say. What about compassion? What about love? What about hope? Should I have non-attachment to those things? Because if we're going to take away one, we might as well take away all of them, right? See, for the most part, I'm also an extremist. And before yoga came into my life, I operated as a robot. No feelings at all. And I felt like that was non-attachment to a high degree. No, that was just detachment. I was feeding on myself, no connection to the divine source at all. So to practice non-attachment is way harder than practicing whatever it is you and I practice on a daily basis, whether we want to or not. I'm going to practice this skill so I can be the best and I can be a master at it. But you're called a master when you don't have to touch that thing anymore, for the most part, right? Most masters are seen as people who don't need to practice no more, right? They're already there. They don't need to practice no more. But part of being human is also knowing that you should never be too comfortable. And the best masters, also the best students. So before we go into what Patanjali says non-attachment is, how you find it, because what it looks like, what it feels like in the grand scheme of things, just know that non-attachment is not something that you can just walk into and boom, you're there. Not even practice. There's no store on this planet called Practice Store. And then you just buy practice in a bottle, drink it, and there you go. It doesn't work like that. Life is one long practice. I guess I'm realizing that, you know, it's okay to practice these things over here. Yeah, double and double. But now you have to practice the real things. I have to practice non-attachment. And that doesn't mean the opposite of compassion or anything like that. I really will have to talk about non-attachment later because it's more painful than practice, you know? Practice what? There's an object there. There's always something to practice. There's a subject, right? So practice non-attachment. Let's put it like this. Non-attachment would be the subject, right? And practice would be the predicate. Non-attachment would be the object for you to practice. But non-attachment itself, there is no object. There is no practice. There just is. And that is painful in itself. You know, when I hid who I was from myself, became a Rasta, I had my nati. I had a lot of knowledge, I was in tune, carried a good vibe. And then 7 years in, my friend died, and I cut off my nati. I had taken a Nazarite vow, and it was fulfilled. It was over. 7 years just happened to be. And I guess the universe was like, you know what? That's a decent, you know, following and teaching and all that, but that's not it, yo. So once I chopped off my nati, you know, I got experiential training. You don't need to know what that is. And then yoga came into my life. Actually, yoga came into my life while I had my dreads, but I didn't get serious about it until I cut off my locks. And for the longest time, I would say to the Most High, I just want to be one with the Most High, you know? I just want to be one with the Most High. So the Most High said, yo, all right, you want to be one with me? Bam! Let's go. And I did yoga. And I went straight to the source. And it scared me so bad that I retreated again. And this time retreated worse than before. And finally, the universe said, hey, it's time to open up your eyes again, eh? Come on. Come on. You need it now. You gotta get this working now. You can't play with me no more. And I said to the universe, I really want to be one with you, but I understand I have to go through certain levels. And I think I'm prepared to go through these levels before I get to you again, just so. So the Most High said, all right. I'm in like that compromise. And here I am, going up in levels. First I had to learn who I was meant to be. I had to learn what was shunned from me. That was my natural birthright. And now I have to learn how to grow with it. So all this energy that I take on is for a reason, no? Because with every battle that I face and I win in my way, I get stronger, yes? I'm a stubborn one. It takes me a while to get it. Now, I'm quick to get it, but it takes it a while for it to seep in, and I get it. So it's time for me to practice non-attachment. Just like I told you, these Yoga Sutras would show me. I told you, everything that I read in this book is going to show me how to do it in real life, in real time. Okay? So here I am, and here it is. Now, as I practice non-attachment, I don't want anyone to think, oh, I'm being mean. Oh, she don't care. She don't like nobody. No, that's not it. I have to relearn non-attachment practice. Relearn it steadily, properly, with time, earnestness, patience, things I didn't have before, things I've found now. Sorry. So with that said, give thanks and praise to everybody. Have a blessed day.